Hi guys, welcome back, and if you're new here, I'm Nessie. Sandy can hardly be expected to tend her garden without tools, so let's start with the watering can. I'll put a link in the description below where I got the template. Check out the video too for an alternative option for making the watering can. For me, I just cut out the pieces in the template and glue them onto cardstock. The only piece I don't bother with is the big bottom circle. Once the glue's dry, cut out the pieces. Use a pin and stab a bunch of holes in the tiny circle piece. Poke them through from the front so the rough side can be hidden later. Then work the pieces of the tube for the spout, the funnel top and the sides of the watering can against a pen or tool handle to help them curl without creasing. Now I'm using super glue gel here, but tacky glue will do the job just fine. I first glue the watering can sides into a tube. Next I make the funnel for the watering can head, followed by the tube part. Remember to roll the funnel tube lengthways or you're going to have a very weird looking watering can. Now run a line of glue around the bottom edge of the big tube and stick it down on a piece of scrap cardstock. Watering can spouts don't stick out at a right angle, so snip one end at an angle and then glue the tiny funnel to the straight end. Once that's secure, glue in place the little circle piece that you poked all the holes into. Trim off excess cardstock from the bottom. Use your fingers to shape the handle before gluing it on one end at a time. I used a toothpick to press the end of the handle down firmly. Now glue the tube for the spout onto the opposite side to the handle and position it down low. Pretty cute, huh? When all the glue is dry, it'll be time for painting. At this point you can paint your watering can whatever colour you fancy, but I was going for a galvanised metal look, starting with a coat of silver. When that was dry, I dotted all over it with a silver paint pen. The two silvers are just slightly different, so that creates that picture look galvanised metal has. I sealed it with matte Mod Podge. What do you reckon? Does it look legit? I think Sandy likes it, but she looks like she wants to ask something. Sure, Sandy, more tools coming up. Grab a scrap of flattened out foil pie pan and trace out the shapes for the heads of rake, shovel and a hand trowel. Make sure you have little wedge shapes at the top of them to wrap around the handles. Cut them out. And now my lovely assistant is helping me measure the lengths for the tool handles, which I'm making with a thick kebab skewer. I initially cut the handle straight across before I decided to cut the tool end at a 45-degree angle. Sand the angle edges smooth and round off the straight ends, for aesthetics and stuff. On the blade of the shovel I used a ball stylus to rub a line up the centre. This will help with the shaping later on. Form the wedge at the top of the shovel blade around the handle. You want it wrapping from the front around to the back, and the handle is pointed end up against the back side of the wedge. The shovel blade will be curved towards the front, but I won't be shaping that part until after the handle is securely glued on. Glue the handle on with super glue. Do the same for the hand trowel. Now I'm shaping the blade of the shovel. The sides curve towards the front, but it has a ridge up the middle. The hand trowel is more simply shaped, curved towards the front. I've decided the corners were too pointy, so I trimmed them ever so slightly to make them a little less stabby. The rake head gets two lines marked across it with a ball stylus for fold lines. Then cut an even number of lines up to the first fold line from the straight edge. Keep your cuts close together and evenly spaced. Fold every second strip backwards so you can easily trim them off with scissors. Now fold the rake head into shape and glue on the handle, again curling the wedge from the front to the back. I'm dotting the silver paint pen over the metal bits for that galvanised metal look again. Not a problem, Sandy, pick a colour out. Be careful in there. There you go, Sandy. Now let's give them a coat of varnish on the handles. The final tool I'm making is secateurs. I cut a V shape for the handles out of thick cardstock. To add dimension to the handles, I coated each side with a couple of layers of Gorilla wood glue. Let it dry well between the layers. I used a 1/4 inch hole punch to cut a small circle out of the foil pie pan. This is going to be the blades of the secateurs. Fold it in half but slightly off centre so it looks like two separate blades. I'm using relief outliner to add a dot at one end, and that'll look like a bolt or screw. If you don't have any outliner, try a dot of the wood glue. When the handles are fully dry, paint them whatever colour you want. I went with purple. Use a dot of super glue to glue the blades to one end of the handles. I coloured the outliner with a silver pen. And here are moderately convincing secateurs. Okay, so now I realised Sandy was going to need somewhere to hang up her big tools. So I made a quick rack out of popsicle stick and a scrap of twisted wire. As you can see, it's all pretty self-explanatory. I marked holes, poked holes, cut wire and bent it to fit in the holes before I glued it into the holes. Did I mention there were holes? You'll have to excuse the crazy lighting. It was super sunny outside and I had to close the curtains. My poor camera was struggling hard with it. I bent the hooks upwards a little, checked the fit, and then I painted the wire hooks light purple. The backboard I painted a bright green for contrast. I felt like the potting bench could use a little more aging, so I added some moss to the legs with some homemade flocking and glue. This flocking is really just finely chopped yarn and it makes great moss between stones and stuff like that. Don't forget, a full list of all the materials used in this video is in the description below. And while you're at it, check out the link to my Nessie Monster merch, where you can buy the cute designs I've created on stickers, t-shirts, mugs, phone cases and more. I still have a number of plans for this area, so I'm not permanently going to glue the potting bench in just yet, but it's still fun adding details. Now, speaking of adding details, let's do some gluing. If you don't mind hopping out of the way, Sandy, I'll get your tool rack in place for you. Oh yes, and we can't forget the garden sign. Let's get that sign in place. Now to add some greenery around the signpost. And don't forget the secateurs. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new uploads, and leave a comment because I'd love to hear from you. It really helps my channel to grow. If you want to share your own crafty ideas and projects, join my Facebook page called Nessie Monster Crafts. And we have Fun Day Fridays where we can all show off our latest works in progress. If you can afford it, please consider buying me a coffee. Links for both my Facebook group and coffee account are in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!